The message landed at 4:48 p.m. Only 3 sentences appeared. No introduction, no affection, just stern closure. Don't attend my father's celebration. You don't belong in this family anymore. If you try, I'll have security remove you. Evan Quartermain, my half-brother, who is 4 years younger than me, is both a full-time executive and the self-appointed guardian of everything at Quartermain and Brothers. His words were always shaped like the manicured hedges at our childhood home, precise, severe, and purposely wounding. I found myself staring at the phone's display for longer than necessary, hoping that somehow another message would appear underneath. Something gentler, maybe a line suggesting he regretted what he'd written. But that message never arrived. The device vibrated again, backlighting a new message. Malene, please try to see it from our side. This evening is essential for my father's professional connections. Don't complicate the situation more than you must. Victoria Quartermain, my stepmother, always managed to disguise malice as if she were granting a concession. Please try to understand. As though I hadn't spent years making every effort, I put the phone down. I lowered it slowly, placing it next to an old silver compass that had once belonged to my mother on the corner of my desk. She had given it to me when I was about to leave for Caledonia Technical Institute. Etched on the underside, the inscription still glimmered beneath the dulled metal. Never follow maps. Make your own. It had been nearly 6 years since I last saw my father, Thomas Quartermain. Not since the day he dismissed my engineering patents as a cute pastime. Not since he accused me of squandering the family name. Now, with my father about to turn 61, he was making the rounds at Lakeshore Heights Country Club, surrounded by investors and politicians. Yet there seemed to be no place for me. At least, not for the daughter who no longer served any purpose. As I leaned back in my chair, my gaze wandered toward a Signal-Tech journal cover framed on the opposite wall. It featured me, depicted as the reserved mastermind behind Dynacell Storage Solutions. They were unaware. None of them had the slightest idea. How does it feel when those closest to you treat your absence as a gift and your presence as something ominous? The compass needle shifted ever so slightly as sunlight moved across the floor. I had already made up my mind. 6 years. That was the exact amount of time since I left the gleaming glass tower of Quartermain Motors, carrying nothing but a messenger bag and my mother, Celia Fontaine's, compass. The exchange stays vivid in my mind, not because voices were raised, but because the silence stung more than words. Electric batteries are going nowhere, my father, Thomas Quartermain, remarked as he browsed through the designs I had laid out. We build engines, true engines, not gadgets for environmental idealists. I kept my tone measured, never raising it, and didn't bother to make eye contact, merely sweeping the documents away as if they were nothing but dust. At 27, newly graduated with dual degrees from Caledonia Technical Institute, my research had already been referenced by 3 electric vehicle think tanks. But in that space, in his office, I was just a girl with charming diagrams, standing beside Victoria Quartermain. She stood next to him, arms crossed, her face giving nothing away. This company is going places, Malene, but only if we don't waste our future on pet science experiments. That meeting was the last one I would ever attend in that office. They presented me with an offer for a vice president position, a prime office, a full suite of benefits, and even a reserved parking space with my name on it. I graciously rejected their proposal. After that, I vanished. My reason wasn't to pout or make a statement, but to start something new. Dynacell Technologies began at the far end of a communal laboratory at EcoForge Innovation Hub. I spent so many nights sleeping in my car that I lost track. I grabbed meals from vending machines and practiced soldering during those endless stretches between denied grants and sleepless, anxious nights. People often imagine building a company as something exciting. In truth, it's isolating, subdued. like morning, but with a heavier load of spreadsheets. Still, I held on to my conviction. I placed my faith in my mother. I carried with me only a compass and a folder brimming with imagined worlds. The first to realize I had disappeared was my half-brother, Evan Quartermain. Evan quietly removed me from the Quartermain family group chat just a week after I left. He never sent a message or offered an explanation, just erased me, as if I had never existed as the sister who stayed up late helping him with college physics. As if I hadn't covered for Evan when he failed thermodynamics and wanted to keep our father, Thomas Quartermain, in the dark. I didn't harbor any resentment toward him. Evan was only safeguarding his prospects, as the favored child, the genuine heir to Quartermain and Brothers. Meanwhile, I adopted my mother's surname, Kane, and reinvented myself. It's odd how long you can go unnoticed, slipping from others' thoughts. Even stranger is the silence. No one ever asks why you left. They only want to know when you'll come back. But my return wasn't for their sake. I came back for the truth alone. If my sacrifices are forgotten, does that strip them of any significance? I received the phone call a little after 7:10 p.m. While I found myself barefoot on the kitchen tiles, staring at the kettle as it steamed, unsure if I'd even filled it with water, Noah said, his tone even and clipped as usual, "It's all arranged for this evening." He reserved any trace of friendliness for when we were off the clock. Stuart Maddox's team had confirmed the news was ready to go public. "Are you certain this is how you want to proceed?" Noah Lim had been by my side from the very beginning. That was way back when Dynacell was little more than a set of hopeful scribbles and a makeshift workspace. He left a stable, high-paying job at Arc Motors just to help me create something nobody believed in except us. I shut off the stove, watching as the burner's glowing red ring cooled into darkness. "Yes," I replied. "I have to attend in person. He has to witness my presence. My father. Every single one." Noah hesitated a moment. Then Stuart Maddox specifically requested that I be there. "I'm the public face now. The moment has come." Stuart Maddox wasn't just an ordinary backer. He meant something far deeper than that. A billionaire investor, quiet, composed, and formidable. He was the kind of man whose reputation made CEOs sit up straighter and prompted journalists to stop recording. His investment company had been monitoring Quartermain Motors for months, tracking its ongoing losses in both market presence and liquidity. Yet he hadn't acted. Not until Dynacell Storage Solutions intervened. Not until I insisted that they be given the initial right to negotiate did I feel satisfied, though I knew I'd have to present that proposal in person. I prepared for the meeting in hushed solitude. There were no brand names or ostentatious logos, just a simple navy dress, flat onyx shoes, and the compass pendant I had inherited from my mother. As I walked, it tapped quietly against my skin, a faint second pulse. The car waited for me below. My steps slowed at the entrance. I rested my fingers on the doorknob, my heartbeat suddenly thundering in my head. "They don't know anything about you," Noah Lim once remarked. "They will," I had countered, "just not right away." I lingered in that moment. For a full minute, I felt the heaviness of the evening tightening in my chest. After gathering myself, I pushed open the door and was hit by the chill outside. If I am the answer to someone's silent wishes, yet they have no idea it's me, do I still owe them a wonder? Lakeshore Heights Country Club looked exactly as it always had. The limestone columns stood solid and familiar, the wrought iron gates twisting sharply like brambles. Even the valet in white gloves, who grinned a little too quickly and asked hardly anything, remained unchanged. When I exited the vehicle, I ran my hands along the front of my jacket to steady myself. For a second, I caught my reflection in the tall glass panes, a looming figure, still unfamiliar to me. Inside, crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, resembling icicles caught in a flash. The sound of jazz drifted lazily, as rich and lingering as an expensive scent weaving through the crowd. A golden banner stretched across the distant wall, reading Happy 63rd Thomas in graceful calligraphy. There was not the slightest sense of warmth to the display. By the main entrance, a digital tablet glowed in the palms of a woman whose sleek blonde hair framed a face brimming with anxious energy that spilled out despite her poise. A polite smile lingered on the face of Sophie Quartermain, my half-brother Evan's wife, her demeanor always measured and courteous. Her eyes grew noticeably larger when I entered her view. I gripped my tablet more firmly with one hand, while my other hand automatically searched for my phone. Malene, Sophie, surely you're not… Actually, Evan told me that Stuart Maddox's office reached out before I arrived, I answered with even composure. I trust you'll see my name included on that list. She awkwardly tapped across the device's screen. I stayed completely still, waiting. Yes, it's here, she murmured quietly, blinking in disbelief. But how is that even possible? That's irrelevant, I answered, moving past her before she made up her mind whether to smile or call for assistance. The ballroom appeared like a gallery filled with echoes from the past. In every corner, I sensed memories I'd rather not reawaken. Victoria Quartermain stood by the bar, enveloped in a gown of green silk, her laughter with a nearby councilman overly loud. Evan made his way around the space as if he were greeting voters at a campaign event, standing tall and looking flawless in his suit and tie. No one seemed to notice my presence, or perhaps they simply saw me and failed to recognize who I truly was now. I moved quietly, blending in as just another attendee clad in blue, unnoticed by those around me. By the appetizer table, I felt a gentle touch on my arm. It was Victoria Quartermain. She gave a smile that never seemed to reach her eyes. Malene, Victoria said, her tone sickeningly sweet. This isn't the right moment, is it? You've already chosen your path. Why create turmoil here? Tilting my head, I studied her. She was anxious, though not for the reasons I would have guessed. Worried I'll cause a commotion? I'm more concerned you'll get exactly what you're expecting. Her voice dropped even quieter. And he'll be at a loss. Before I could form a reply, I sensed a shift in the room, a faint, collective pause. The conversations dwindled as everyone's attention shifted to the doorway. Stuart Maddox had just made his entrance, the room's most influential figure, clad in gray, sharply dressed, his expression stern. 502 Bad Gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from cloud-flared 502 Bad Gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from cloud-flared. My father, Thomas Quartermain, stepped forward first, greeting him with a broad and dazzling grin. Stuart, it's truly a privilege. We're all excited for the big announcement this evening. Stuart offered a brief handshake. Polite, measured. Impressive gathering, Thomas, he remarked. Truthfully, my main reason for coming was to meet someone in particular. He let his words linger in the air like mist. His gaze swept the room once, then twice, before finally settling directly on me. His voice lifted just enough to project, "There she is," and instantly every set of eyes swung to me. For a moment, it felt like everyone stopped breathing, and just like that, the tension broke. He strode across the room toward me, moving steadily, each step intentional. My father, Thomas Quartermain, let his smile waver, while Victoria Quartermain's expression went rigid. I noticed Evan Quartermain abruptly stopped moving as he stood near a champagne tray. "Miss Kane," Stuart Maddox greeted, holding out his hand to me. 502 Bad Gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from cloud-flared. Off in the distance, a glass slipped and broke on the marble floor. My father, Thomas Quartermain, turned his head, searching the room. "I don't understand," he finally stammered. "Do you know her?" Stuart Maddox let out a gentle laugh. "Thomas, your daughter is the whole reason we've gathered here this evening. Did that truly escape you?" He shifted, making his announcement to those assembled. "Ladies and gentlemen, please let me officially present the founder and CEO of Dynacell Technologies, Malene Carrington-Kane." Nobody in the crowd stirred. Not even I did. "You've been after Dynacell for months now," I murmured quietly, moving forward. "Endless meetings, countless proposals." I turned to my father, locking eyes with him. "And still, really?" I looked at them, realizing they had never considered that the very person they'd longed to encounter was the same one they had dismissed for spending so much time on batteries. To them, it seemed unbelievable. Evan Quartermain suddenly burst out, his voice trembling. "You've accomplished nothing since you left." "Nothing," I responded, tilting my head. "That nothing is currently driving 5 of the top 6 electric vehicle manufacturers in Oceania," I said. "That so-called nothing has a value of $3.6 billion. My father, Thomas Quartermain, swayed a bit and gripped the back of a chair for support. 502 Bad Gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. You just didn't notice." Victoria Quartermain moved closer, panic sharpening her voice. "Thomas, you cannot allow her to take charge of everything we've created." I cut in. "Are you referring to the business that's desperately clinging to gas engines while the industry pivots to electric? The company whose profits have dropped by 7/10? My tone stayed level, not out of anger, but out of certainty. Stuart Maddox reached into his briefcase and produced a thin folder. As previously arranged, Dynacell Technologies is set to purchase a 62% controlling stake in Quartermain Motors, 502 Bad Gateway. Unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared." He simply gazed ahead. "What words are left when the daughter you cast out becomes the only hope your name endures?" My father still hadn't uttered a word. My half-brother's hand hovered anxiously above the folder Stuart Maddox had set upon the cocktail table, his fingertips grazing the edge, as though afraid it might scald him. I watched my father's gaze travel over the cover, saw his eyes dart to the Dynacell emblem, my emblem, boldly printed in deep navy, a name he had never spoken, now bound to a daughter he never truly acknowledged. "Malene," he at last said. His voice was barely more than a whisper. "Why were you never honest with me?" I asked, my expression gentle but unwavering. I paused. 6 years ago, in your office. I'd come to you then with designs, forecasts, a functioning sample. You dismissed them as juvenile, telling me to get serious and learn proper business. He lowered his eyes. There was no argument, just a heavy hush. My half-brother, Evan Quartermain, intervened, his hands balled into fists, and his tone growing urgent. "Dad, you can't let her do this," Evan pleaded. "She left. She abandoned her spot in the family. She doesn't merit it." "Enough, Evan." My father's words were delivered cold as a blade. Even Victoria Quartermain, my stepmother, looked caught off guard. But all I could think was, just stop. My father, Thomas Quartermain, leveled his tone, becoming more somber. "You were given every chance, yet you didn't choose what she chose." He regarded me once more, and I met his stare, unyielding. "It was never a question of worthiness," I replied. "It came down to who could salvage what remained." Victoria crossed over to the far side of the room. Gone was any trace of her signature poise or charm. Only harsh lines, and even harsher resolve remained. Her glare burned into me. "Does this make you feel superior?" she spat. "Do you think arriving with attorneys and balance sheets wipes away your past choices?" I replied in an even tone, "I didn't leave by choice." She let out a harsh laugh. You were forced out, huh? You always had to be the clever one, the standout. Well, guess what? Enjoy your solitude, because your accomplishments won't change that. I held my tongue, since the debate was already over. My gaze wandered to the heart of the room, where a portrait of my father, Thomas Quatermain, hung above the hearth. The bronze border, his self-assured grin, and the weight of his legacy seemed to illuminate the space. That portrait seemed to survey us all as if everything was the same, when in fact, nothing was. Everything was different now. Stuart Maddox cleared his throat softly. Shall we move forward? The folder was open now, prepared, and so was I. What remained was simply the remnant of a family. Once the facts speak with more force than kinship, the party dwindles. Several guests had departed before the end. Others clustered by the bar, murmuring quietly and exchanging covert looks. My half-brother was nowhere in sight. My stepmother had slipped away behind a shut door, most likely phoning the family's lawyer. I found myself alone on the rear terrace, where the chill in the air felt purer than what lingered indoors. Through the glass, bursts of laughter rang out, empty and out of place. Within those walls, the Quatermain legacy was being rewritten. Out here, I could finally draw breath. The door made a low groan behind me. I didn't turn, but I recognized the approaching footsteps, slower, softer than I recalled. Malene, my father murmured. I allowed the silence to widen between us. He shifted to stand next to me, careful not to get too near. He gazed across the lawn as if the answers to his unspoken questions lay hidden there. That evening, you left. I can still see you in my office with that file. You never even glanced at it. No, I didn't. His words were simple. There was no argument, no attempt to justify anything. I glanced his way then, just for a moment. He looked older, not in his face, but somewhere deep in his eyes, as if something he'd always relied on had finally collapsed, exposing only what was real. Can you ever forgive me? He asked. I raised my hand, unclasped the chain from my neck, and extended the compass to him. This little object guided me when it felt like no one else believed I'd find my direction. He stared at it, though he didn't pick it up. Because of that, I left it resting between us atop the stone railing. I told him I wasn't there to return to the past. I was there to create something new, to move forward. If he was open to learning from his daughter, I would show him. He responded with a nod, neither eager nor flawless, but with a humility I had never seen in him before. Sometimes refusing to listen can cost you all the things you never even realized you had. Tuesday morning arrived with a chill sharper than normal. The sky was keen, the light flat and harsh, and frost outlined the windows at Quatermain Motors, which would soon be known as Quatermain Dynacell Technologies. 502 Bad Gateway, unable to reach the origin service. The service may be down, or it may not be responding to traffic from Cloudflared. The office was shadowy and deserted, with Evan's name already gone from the door. It was my office now. Victoria's artwork, sculptures, paintings, those absurd metal abstractions, had all been packed away overnight. Legacies vanish quickly when a business finds new owners. I had moved my workspace to the highest floor on the east side. The view remained, but the feeling had changed entirely. Waiting on my desk was a single box, wrapped neatly in deep blue paper. There was no message, only the parcel itself. Cautiously, I peeled it open. Resting inside was my mother's old Caledonia Technical Institute engineering textbook, worn at the corners and bound together with brittle yellowing tape. A faded envelope marked one particular page. I unfolded it, and the handwriting leaped out at me, distinct, slanted, disciplined, intimately familiar. At last, the world recognizes what I've always known. I steadied the page between my hands, motionless rather than trembling. Silence filled the room, interrupted only by the measured ticking of the wall clock. Directly in front of me, sunlight streamed through the blinds, illuminating the metallic shine of the compass resting on the stone windowsill. I had placed it there so that Evan would notice it, making it clear for him to choose what to do next. My eyes wandered over the city I had once abandoned, not as a daughter or a memory, but as the creator of something original. Now, I realized there was no longer any need to justify that to anyone. They once asked why I left. They never asked what I built.